game theory, and then you have the trading Bible, like how to avoid doing like what's called revenge trading, where if you lose a trade, then you like want to get right back in and try to make up for those losses that you made, which is a big no-no. And the majority of the things they tell you to avoid on there are things that I've actually done personally, and I can attest for the fact that you should absolutely not do them.
That's the word.
That's the only way I learned. I learned the hard way.
Yeah, you got to. It's emotion.
So I did want to cover a couple really quick points about what happened here today with Bitcoin. It looks a little bit freaky, but if you go to this chart that I have, which I'll put on that PDF too, you can see like 2015, 2016, 2017, almost like clockwork around the January, February time. You have these corrections in the market. So I don't know exactly what causes it. It might be some superstitious Chinese New Year.
Figure it out for 2 weeks.
Hey, they're all converting into fiat currency.
The dates of the lows were in 2015, January 14th, 2016, January 16th, and 2017 was January 11th.
That's true. Yeah, so like that's why I put a couple of these up here too, which is a closer look at those.
Tyler, were these other years, was that caused by what I would call FUD? Like this year it's the Koreans and the Chinese. What was causing it them years?
Yeah, usually like in the beginning of the year, you'll get all these rumors and stuff about what the government's going to do throughout the course of 2015 or what the government's going to do throughout the course. So like one of the articles that I read focused a lot on like the American government in particular doing a lot of regulations coming in 2018, which who knows if that's going to take place. I mean, if you're somebody who believes that Wall Street is really behind who makes the laws, then I don't think that's going to take place, because cryptocurrencies are Wall Street's new toy. Like they're not gonna screw with their own profits. So
you have to be very careful with some of the headlines of some of them things, because like the whole Korean, they got raided. They didn't actually get raided. People walked in and asked to see their paperwork or whatever.
Yeah, so like I have cryptosomnia, so I stay up throughout the night pretty often. So, so when you're trading, one of the things that I found is like when the Asian markets open, which is usually around 6 or 7 p.m. our time, that's when you start seeing a lot of activity in the crypto markets, because you have Korea, Japan, China that are all jumping on their computers and they're starting to do their trading. So I was actually up at night while that whole crackdown in Korea like took place.
Yeah, me too.
And I was watching, like I tried to call a couple people, but of course they were sleeping like normal people. But the next morning, it's like there was a whole week's worth of news that happened between the time they went to sleep and the time they waked up. And you saw prices dip down like 10, 15, 20% in some of them, and then they jumped right back up before people in America even woke up and figured out what happened. That's why it's one of the things I like about trading cryptocurrencies, and it's another thing that I don't like about it too. It's like it's 24/7, 365, 7 days a week. So you can place a trade, and if you don't have some stop losses set on your trade, which I'll go over too, you can go to sleep and wake up the next day and like this happens. So yeah. And one of the other things too is like a lot of the time that like what we talked about a couple weeks ago, which is like the whales, they get this information, the big players in the market get this information before all of us get the information. So a lot of the times if you'll see these big dips happening in the market and nobody really knows why, there's no specific piece of news that explains it, half of the time it's because the people with the money find out about this information. They'll start selling they'll start closing out their positions, and then a day or so later you'll have a news article come out that explains exactly why that happened, and then other people get in the market afterwards. The people who trade off the news, which is another thing that the trading Bible definitely recommends that you do not do.
Have you tracked the volume when you see it going up and down to establish what you see with your signals? When you have 3 years of dips at the same time,
right?
If you're trying to establish a pattern, you would look for signals, identifiers, triggers, right?
Right.
But it's easy in hindsight to see the 3 years and within a couple of days which are relevant. But if you also look at your trading volume when it dips,
right,
that's also a buying opportunity for the same whales.
The volume is this down here, if you guys don't know.
It's manipulation.
Because they could be making money on the up and the down.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
they are, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Right,
it's the
obviously.
run the market, yeah.
And if
what
you're
I'm
day
saying, you
trading,
can watch the volume to help establish what their patterns are, because they'll be moving in two ways like a penny stock.
right? And like if you're short-term trading, like a lot of people read these depth charts, and like on GDAX, this is flipped horizontally, but you can read these order books and you can see based off of like, so this middle column is the quantity, and then this is the price they want to buy it at. So like the red is the ask and the green is the bid. So usually like whatever the highest bid and the lowest ask is, that's what usually ends up taking place on the chart. So you'll get, if you can read these the right way, and it takes a little bit of practice to figure out how to read them, but you can see like, I don't see any of them here, but sometimes you'll see like in this middle column where it says quantity, you'll see like, here's one example, like that's a 5 Bitcoin trade. That's one trader who's asking 5 Bitcoins at this price. So somebody, that's not necessarily that good of an example, but if you'll see like a 15, 20, 30 Bitcoin ask, somebody with that amount of money has a lot of logic behind. If they're placing that amount of money on one trade, there's a reason they're placing that amount of money on that trade. So there's a lot of people who will try to get in the market behind these big orders. Like here's an 11 Bitcoin order at 11,790. So if you want to ride that whale's wake, you would place your order like, I don't know, whatever you want to trade at 11,791 or 11,789, because you know that there's that support underneath you. So it's not likely to drop below that price when somebody with that big of an account is looking to place an order at the price underneath that.
And can you execute the trades in a timely fashion? Are they fast trades, or does it depend on the volume and the amount?
It depends like what your style of trading is. So like I found a sweet spot for me is swing trading, where I'll hold it for a day or two. Like I found like the lower the time frame that you go on, the more likely you are to get faked out by these charts if you're focusing strictly on technical analysis. So like I've tried trading on like these 30-minute charts and 15-minute charts before, and what happens on these smaller charts is that these hedge funds and like the big players in these markets have algorithms. Well, they'll spread out $1 million across 100,000 different trades, and they'll put bid and asks in at certain time frames, and it'll fake people out.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to read strictly technical analysis on these lower time frames, it's really easy to get faked out. So I focus on like the hourly charts, and I'll find a setup, and then I'll hold it for 1 to 3, 4 days maybe, and then get out of it. But what you were saying with the volume, so like one of the things.
Let me go back to that. When you see that, because they're adjusting their margin,
Mm-hmm.
they're spreading it over time, and then there's just a numerical equation: so many trades, so much time, percentage points,
Right.
whatever their average is over a period of time. Can you see a difference in that in volume, where you can tell they're doing that, or how are you disseminating the fact that that's what they're doing?
Right. So like I didn't look specifically on like the dip that occurred this morning, but one of the things I did find is usually you'll get down here like at the let me go to like an altcoin.
So there's actual bots that trade on the market also. So like,
Sure.
Right.
you can get the depth chart can be a very useful tool, but like you said, it can also fake you out really bad at the same time.
But it's a program that can be set up over periods of time with percentage points, where they can maintain a specific average based off the total volume and what's happening. They can get in and out in their overall volume or their overall percentage. They can control their margin based off their volume, based off this volume. But what I'm saying is, if you can identify that as a trigger mechanism based off specific data as an identifier where it's not speculative, then you can get in and manipulate that.
Like I had a friend that texted me the other day, because there's this group of idiots that have this YouTube channel that they look like they're like 15 years old, and they pump these like below 1 cent altcoins, And this guy he put like $250 in, they pumped it, and then he sold it, and he made like $250K in one day.
That's
off
because
of
it's
it.
emotional pump and dump, yes.
So my friend texted me asking how he can do this, and I'm trying to explain to him, like, he showed me the chart, and if you look at the volume
Right.
on that pump and dump, it's less
Right.
than $5,000.
Right.
And you can, if you watch an order book for on most order books, if you watch it for a long enough time, you can see
Mhm.
the pattern that occurs, and
Right.
you can take advantage of that.
Like a
So,
stock.
like, if you
Yeah.
trade often enough too,
Right.
you get
Right.
where your thumb's on the pulse of the market, and you can start to recognize, okay, if it gets down to this level, I know I'm going to buy in, or if it gets above this level, I know I'm going to sell. Because, and then also, like you said too, if you look at this order book enough, which it looks crazy to somebody that's never seen it before, but if you look at it enough, it starts to make sense, and you start to feel like your thumb's like kind of on the pulse of it. And like, so if you hear somebody talking about buy walls and sell walls, this is an example of what that is. So these are big players in the market that are putting sell orders in at certain prices. And what you'll see is, like I saw this the other night with Ethereum.
Or a cluster.
It was flipped around, so they had a bunch of buy walls that looked like that, and then all of a sudden it flattens out. So they'll take what that one big order was, and they'll spread it across an algorithm of bots that'll buy in at certain prices to make it look organic. Because they know that people are watching what whales are doing in the markets, so you see it moving like it is. So like this guy right here, he'll know that there's people watching this, so they'll put in sell orders behind them because they feel like they know more information than they don't. So what they'll do is it'll just flatten out, and that's what they do. They spread that $1 million order across 10,000 different orders, and it looks organic, so it looks more like it's 10,000 people buying and selling. And that's the thing, like what he was saying about volume. So like that's why I try not to do any kind of trading in any coin has less than $500,000
You
of
get stuck.
volume, because
Yeah,
you get completely screwed by people.
You're
It's
in the
like,
corner, you can't get out.
it's insane, because like if you think about a coin in total, people that are trading $500,000, somebody with $1 million can push that market up and down all they want. So that's why I try to stay away from the altcoins that are down that list. Like I get people that message me all the time, like, look at Coin, it just jumped 36,000%, and you look at the volume and it's like less than 100,000. So it's pretty obvious what's going on.
What's your opinion? So I'm in this Signal group, and it's from, I know the person that made it, and basically the girl that made it, she was in all these different Asian whales and Oriental whale. Now the only time I touch a coin that's under 500K in volume is if these certain whales call it out, and you have to be up, like the Bitcoin fund manager guy. We're in the Oracle whale signal and the Black Dolphin. Well, they have levels. They structure it to where like the more you pay, the quicker you get the signal. They call it. And the only time that I touch them is when I get a signal from these certain ones. What's your opinion on signals, and have you benefited from it? Because I've benefited
So like in that
tremendously.
situation, I'd have to know the people personally, because I've come across plenty of like Ty Lopez type of people that let me sell you on my course, and you get emails for signals, and like half the time they don't know what the hell they're doing. So the signals, like I would have to know like where those signals are coming
Right,
from.
you
It's
don't
just
want to count on somebody else's information with your
right.
money.
Yeah, I don't
Exactly.
You're
count on
paying to
anything. I
play,
look
and
at
that's
like TA,
manipulative.
FA. I look at everything as a whole. I feel like in order to take advantage of this space, you have to be well-rounded, and it's not. You can't just do TA versus FA. You have to look at what the whales are doing. You have to pay attention to that stuff. And
So like from my background doing Forex trading, I've gotten a pretty good grasp over the TA, but like what I've been working on is like people with like Waleed here, and there's a couple other programmers and developers that I work on, that I work with doing fundamental analysis. So it's better to have like a group of people, like you get some software programmers that can read the white papers, they can call bullshit when they see it, and you get the technical analysis people that can read the charts, and it all has to flow together the right way. If you're trading strictly on technical analysis, you're going to lose, and if you're trading strictly on fundamental analysis, you're going to lose. So you have to either be smart enough to be able to play both sides of it, or you have to have the right people around you that can help you, that can coordinate together to do that. But like what I was saying with like those pump and dumps and the low volume, like this is, I'm putting this article in that PDF that I was telling you guys about. But this basically just goes through like the anatomy of it, so like how it actually works. So you'll have, I thought there was another one. You have the organizers who will get together, and they'll put, a group of them will have $10 million, $5 million, whatever. they'll decide on a certain altcoin, you know, a 5 cent or below altcoin that they're going to pump, and they all put their money into pumping it, and then it hits the news, which is where this outside ring comes in, which is the average retail trader who will see a news article on some coin that's pumping, and they'll buy into it, and then the organizers will dump once their positions are 36,000% or whatever it is that it pumps up to, and then they'll take their profits and then just let the coin die after that. That happens a lot in Dogecoin. So Dogecoin is probably the most popular pump and dump coin out there, and it's based off of absolutely nothing but a meme. So a bunch of like Reddit and 4chan users took a meme that was super popular a few years ago and turned it into a cryptocurrency. And there's another article on that PDF, the Wolong theory. And Wolong was a Chinese whale who had millions and millions of dollars, who was responsible for the Dogecoin pump and dump in 2015, which was like a historic pump and dump, was like one of the first pump and dumps in the cryptocurrency market. And he basically like left the market and then left behind like this manifesto about like how they do it and like the reason behind them doing it and stuff. So I put that article in the PDF that I'll send you guys to if you guys want it. Did anybody else have any questions? I got about like 15 more minutes before I'm going to have Mike come up here.
Yeah. What's your thought on Tron?
I don't know a whole lot about Tron's fundamentals. I know, yeah, Mike probably knows.
How do you cover that?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chandler, you mentioned about those buy walls and sell walls, and especially a wall is somewhere where a whale is positioning his stock.
Right.
What about even numbers? Like example, for Ethereum, 1100, 1200. You have a lot of people. I don't know if it's just whales on those numbers, but even a lot of people, just a random psychology where you put it at 1200. So how do you identify that?
One of the things, like, and I'll go through like kind of what a stop loss is really quick, but if you're doing coinage, like a stop loss will be if you bought in at this price right here, you would put a sell order in for the same amount that you bought, and you would drag it up or down. You know, if this is the amount of risk you want to take on this trade, then you would put it right here, and you would let it sit there. So when the price gets down to that, it'll close it out. But one of the things, to your point, was that what's risky about stop losses is that the whales in the market, they know where stop losses are getting placed, and most of the time they're being placed at those psychological levels, which is the even numbers. So they'll push price down to like 5,000, knowing that people have the stop losses or buy orders or sell orders or whatever set down here at that even round number, because it's easy for somebody to calculate it, you know, mathematically whenever they're figuring out what the profits and losses are. They'll set sell orders down there, and the whales in the market will push the price down to that just to close out all those orders, and then they'll push the price back up. So like when I do stop losses, I don't put long-term stop losses on. Like if you had a long-term stop loss on, and like what happened with the market with Bitcoin today, you got absolutely crushed by the market if you had like a long-term stop loss in.
Yeah.
In a Bitcoin trade, because that's what's going to happen.
Also,
That will close out your trade.
Also note that the stop losses, that's why you see a lot of dips that go way down real quick and then right back up. It's called a flash crash, because people are out eating dinner, doing whatever, and then the market drops 10-15%. All these orders that are sitting there just start executing.
Now, have you looked at time of day to see when that is, based off when the trading on the stop, based off what the floor is on most of the stops, that's where you're going to get the crash. But you ever look at, is there a certain time in a 24-hour cycle where that happens more consistently?
6 to 7 p.m. when the Asian
Usually like on the Asian markets. Yeah.
6 to 7 p.m.
Right, so you can put that into, you know, one of your trigger points.
Right.
When you look at what your floor is and the time, and that's what I'm saying.
Like when I traded Forex, there was a specific time that I traded when the Asian markets overlapped with the European markets, which is like I think it's like 1 a.m. or 1 to 4 a.m. somewhere around there, and that's when both Europe and Asia are in the middle of their workday and they're doing their trading. So like usually around there is when you're going to get the most volume, because a lot of Americans still aren't even in the
What kind of
cryptocurrency
percentage
space.
points are you trying to have move before you close out a position?
So like what I do is before I open a position, on CoinAgy, even on TradeView too, they have these. you can do this long position right here, and it'll show you like what your risk to reward ratio is
Right.
that you want. So I usually do like 2 to 1 or 2 to 3 if I'm doing scalping or short-term trading. So like a 2 to 1 risk reward, and you just drag it up, and it'll show you 2.3. So that's like a 2 to 1 risk reward. And then so like I place my stop loss right here, and then my take profit target up here.
What percentage are you looking at overall? What's a generalization?
So I do it a couple different ways because I like testing out different setups. Like I just started recently doing, and that's why I printed this out. Like I started trading a lot off this market psychology cycle.
Did you find that more shorter trades on a smaller percentage can be an overall larger gain, or do you find that holding your position and you try to go for a little
So
greater spread?
I kind of do both. So I spread the portfolio out between. There's a few long-term
Based off
coins
what
that I feel like have value, like Stellar Lumens, Scicoin. There's a few of them that I have long positions in that I could, I'll hodl it for 3 or 4 years
Now,
if I have to.
now, do you have some that, because you've watching, you've seen the patterns, that over 3 days or 5 days, and other ones daily, you can get in and out of?
Right. Yeah. So like that's what I'll do with a lot of the coins, and I do it mostly on Poloniex.
Which
but,
tool did you use to? Is that the 3 bar here?
right
Right there, okay.
Down
Okay,
here
thanks.
they have,
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
you can do a long and a short. Poloniex allows you to short, but I definitely wouldn't recommend shorting in a bull market because I tried that I tried that with Ripple like a few weeks ago, and I got absolutely demolished by it. But I think GDAX allows you to too if you're an accredited investor, but Poloniex allows you to do short trading. But yeah, so like they have the different tools over here, and you can do long and short, and you can play with it from there.
So we show the volume on how many people are shorting the market.
So they don't do long and shorts, but down here in the volume part, one of the things I did see too is like at the very bottom of a downtrend or at the very top of an uptrend, you'll see a spike in buy or sell volume. So like the red bars are the sell volume and the green bars are the buy volume. So that's like the bulls or the bears like last push to either push it up or push it down. So like down here you get like a spike in buy and sell. Like this is a bad example because things have been crazy for the past
Momentum
12 hours.
indicator, kind of see that in my eye.
The momentum indicator?
Yeah, pull it up. You might. I use it quite often depending on the trade I'm getting into. It basically shows you negative, positive momentum.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta, if you go into settings,
Right.
switch it to area, and that way you can see when you're going into negative. Switch it to area. It'll show a lot better representation. Yeah. Go into area. So you can see when you're going into
I see.
positive and when you're
Yeah.
going into negative.
So that's kind of similar, like one of the things I've used, but I've also gotten burned by it a couple times, is the relative strength index.
Yep. You can't live off no one indicator.
Right.
For
So
sure.
Tyler, on the volume, I will say this, I've noticed it over the years in trading stocks, commodities, and now even the cryptos, that if you have 2 or 3 days of volume that say 2 or 3 or 4 times on the positive volume going in buying, that usually is the big bears coming, the big whales coming in and setting up the buy, and they're doing it right at a bottom, a key bottom, say a double W bottom, or cut with a handle or something like that, getting ready to break away. I've noticed that, and that's a pretty good
And
indicator.
that's a good way to like lead the whales, which is one of the
Yes.
things I spent a lot of time figuring out is like how do I reverse it and base my strategy off of that, because in a market like crypto that's so non-liquid, trying to ride in the wake of the whales is really the most successful strategy in my opinion. Like regardless of how good your fundamentals or technical analysis is, the whales are really the ones that are controlling the market right now. But I've used the relative strength index a lot too. So this takes like the past 14 candles, which is each one of these. It takes the past 14 of them and does an algorithm and decides based on momentum and the price action, like where the strength of the trend is. So like anytime it dips below 30, that's usually oversold area. So it'll pump back up after that. But you would see up here, like if you were to see it rise, and then whenever it rises above 70, that's overbought. So like if you were to get in right here at an overbought area, you would still have to take some losses before it would dump back down. So I've gotten burned on that with Ripple again a couple times. But
How did you pull that one up, that last indicator?
so the ones on the left over here are overlays. So these are all different overlays that you would like drawing and stuff on the chart. And
Yeah, I was talking specifically your over/under ball.
Yeah, so up here next
Yeah.
to settings is where you have your indicators.
Yeah,
And they
which
have,
one is that?
So they have a ton of different ones.
Does Binance have a lot of that stuff built in to it, Tyler?
I've used, just because of like my
Okay.
past doing Forex trading, I'm used to a certain kind of chart that I can draw on like this. Binance and like GDAX, like Binance, GDAX, and Poloniex, you can't do anything but just basically view the chart and zoom in and out.
Binance does have some indicators, but yeah, you can't draw.
It doesn't.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Binance, one thing I do want to say, when Binance website goes down, you should get the desktop or the phone
Yes.
version
I've got the
because
phone
they do
version.
not go down
Right.
Yeah.
as much as the website.
So like the only indicators that GDAX has is the simple moving average and the exponential moving average, 12 and 26. So like those are your only two options. So like usually the people with the big money in the market are using something like Coinigy or TradeView. TradeView is this right here. It's basically the same.
Are they taking new
Who's that?
accounts?
Coinigy is not an exchange. It's just a charting API.
Oh,
so you
okay.
link your exchange to the charting API, and
Hey, there is this thing called as Crypto Watch as well. So in case if
Crypto
you're
Watch too. Yeah.
trying to use something for free, not use that thing for trading, just
Okay.
map your things on the chart and then use GDAX or Poloniex
They
for
actually make
trading.
your trade, yeah.
Crypto
Yeah.
Watch has some
Yeah.
good alarms too if you need to be woken up.
Is it?
Like-
Crypto
I haven't
Watch
tried
has
that.
good alarms if you need to be woken up.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry, I'm already awake.
Yeah, that's why I have to use the night vision, like the black background, just because I'm looking at it so much and it hurts my eyes. But all right, yeah. So make sure that you guys do the sign in, and I'll send you guys over that PDF with those links that I found pretty helpful. I'm gonna let Mike go ahead and talk to some of you guys that are more interested in the mining aspect. How 2018 is not gonna be your 36,000% gains. Like that was the very early adopter stage of the market. 2018 is gonna be more about usability, and you're not gonna have all these coins with very vague purposes that just pump 20,000% just because they're a coin just for the sake of pumping. In 2018, you're gonna have to do a little bit more research, and it's gonna be focused on fundamentals, and it's gonna be focused on the actual usability of the coin. So there's some like in the healthcare sector, NDS and AIDOC. AIDOC is artificial intelligence doctor, so it's going to communicate with their patients' records, and it's also going to communicate with like your, like they have some Apple smartwatches that monitor your heart rate and stuff like that. So they're going to put that on the blockchain. I'm not sure if AIDOC is on an exchange yet. It might still be in the ICO phase, but Stellar Lumens is another one, XLM, that's going to be big for 2018. They've already done a deal with IBM. I think it's focused on like international payments, settlements, and stuff like that.
They're also starting to launch some ICOs on their system too. I forget which one it was. They just did, I think, their first ICO here a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Stellar, right?
Stellar, yeah. HMQ. Humanique HMQ is an interesting one. So HMQ is basically going to take when they start doing like what's that company that does where you put your DNA in and they tell your family tree or whatever.
Ancestry.
So they're going to take that type of stuff and put people's like DNA codes and stuff on the blockchain and do a whole bunch of different stuff. HMQ, yeah.
Is that ICO?
No, that's on Bittrex right now. And then there's like Scicoin, which is basically like Dropbox on the blockchain. So they're going to use people's free storage space to pay instead of like ad space.
First of all, my name is Mike Chandler. I've been working with them for a few months now, trying to see what we can do with this. It's just mainly a fun group to work with. We're trying to see how far we can push it and learn as much stuff as we can. And so I appreciate you guys coming out here because we actually learned these events too, setting some of this research. But we're going to be going over some potential new coins, technologies in the next 30 minutes, and some advanced trading techniques on the platforms she just went over there. I'm going to move through here. What is blockchain? I'm not going to go over a lot of that, but there's unless you guys want to watch a 2-minute video. Yeah. Blockchain is a lot more that is. I'll summarize this in about 30 seconds. It's a lot more than just a coin. As you guys will see in the next 2 to 5 years, it's going to be taking place in everybody's lives from all different angles, including stuff outside of the coin aspect. A lot of your regular businesses are starting to use blockchain and building foundations and stuff. Medical records, real estate transactions. The big thing about transactions from the history of mankind is consensus, and is trust, and making sure that person owns that vehicle, and they have paid off that vehicle and such. With blockchain technology, all that stuff is going to be going on the blockchain, and it's all going to be visible for everybody. So in the future, whether it's through a coin, which a lot of people are trying to tokenize those processes, a lot of them are going to be on the blockchain in other avenues too. So keep your eyes peeled for investments outside of the blockchain too as this technology develops. But that's basically what that video is about there, of different things in that space. You guys are a lot more advanced. There's a lot more than just Bitcoin. There's Ethereum, which we're going to get to here in a little bit, the Internet 2.0, which that's my big bet there, is I want to see how that develops. And then IOTA, the Internet 3.0, if that really ever comes to fruition. We'll see. I do want to go over a real quick thing with Bitcoin and charts over the last few years, and then we'll get into mining stuff in here in a few minutes. But this here, just so you can kind of see the chart there, and you can read it, that's January 1st through December 31st of 2011. This is a fun little history lesson on what happened each year. So as you can kind of see it now, in the last few months, we've had a huge Bitcoin push. It's been on CNN. If you were to go back and look at the news medias here, I bet you could tell what's happening right around here. There's going to be a lot of talk on media and stuff. Maybe not on CNN yet because it wasn't that big, but it was just went from a few dollars to $15, back down to $5 by the end of the year. Then 2012 went from $5, had a little bump there in January, dropped down real quick, then ended up past $12.50. So it had a pretty good increase for that year. So people were pretty excited. That was in 2012. Anybody here know about Bitcoin in 2012? Anybody have a bunch of Bitcoin in 2012? Anybody buy a bunch of pizzas with Bitcoin in 2012? Okay, 2013, we had a big push. It was back down, around here. This is where it first jumped over 100. And then boom, it died out for a long time. That's basically when I first got introduced to it from another meetup group in Naples. And man, I wish I would have talked a little bit further in those conversations. But that's when I began trying to mine. I never got it figured out. I had a lot of computers back in my office that were being used. I tried to set them up, and I got distracted with work and never finished it. Wish I would have, but it had a big bump at the end of the year there. It went up to almost 1,000. Actually went over 1,000 for the first time in 2013. Then you see it crashed again. And I remember that also because I was all excited about when it hit 1,000 for the first time. Was thinking about buying in. And then forgot about it for about 6 months till I heard it was $200 again. And I was like, whoa, this is it's going to zero. So, make a long story short, the people came in and started bashing and stuff and went back down, and it's done its roller coaster ride. Here we are in 2015. Came in around between 250 and 300. Finished the year at above almost at 500. It's about 400, 450, which that's still in any investment. That's a pretty good return for a year. It wasn't until 2016 that it really started to take off there. People started getting real attention to it from the media and such. Went from $400 up to over 1,000, so another good return for a year. Then in 2017, that's where this next chart is from up till today. It really took off and really got some traction in there. And as you saw, the coin start to jump up. The amount of money we're talking about here is really substantial. Just to kind of put it in perspective, does anybody in here know how big the market capitalization of Ford is?
200 billion. No, it's about what?
I think as of last Friday, it was $55 billion. Somebody want to Google that real quick and verify that? But they got 120,000 employees. That's a big company. I grew up around Ford. I knew that it's a big company. What's the Bitcoin market cap of Bitcoin right now? Does anybody know?
500
Well,
billion.
Yesterday it was a lot bigger.
Yeah,
It lost like 3 forges, in the last 24 hours. But regardless, just to put it in perspective, that's it's a lot of value out there, a lot of money out there. So I'm still trying to figure out how that equates to actually physical, product and stuff like that. And I'm still learning that.
Less than less than 1% of Americans are involved in
Exactly.
this space too, so that's still
It's such a small stage right now. I got some slides in here to kind of show that, point that out. There's Bitcoin. If you look at the graph there, this is the Bitcoin chart, and you can kind of see. And I found this really interesting to learn about these charts and logarithmic charts. And but you can kind of see it's really jumped up in the last few months, since May of 2017. That's back when I really started getting back into it. If you look at the overall chart here, this is January 15th, 2017. This is Bitcoin charts here. We go on here, global charts. I got to move the chart there. Total. Yeah, that was market cap. That's a total market capitalization of everything. So if you look at this here, we were down in 2013 when Bitcoin was down at $10. We were $1 billion. So it was a very small market capitalization. Now down to here, we're up, almost $1 trillion. We were at we're $750 billion. That's big when it comes to money, but when it comes to the total fiat amount that's in the world, it's nothing. It's a speck. So that's where the real excitement comes in this industry. If you really want to look, 5, 10 years down the road, how much of this cryptocurrency will overtake the regular currency? And who knows? That's what the thing's about. So a linear versus logarithmic scales. Somebody look at those charts and understand those. Something neat to look at. It's not my next chart, but I'll show it to you here in a minute. This one is the total capitalization. And what you see here is a very interesting chart. This top line is Bitcoin. What do you notice as it comes over here in the last few months, as all these altcoins are taking off? All these coins like Ripple and Ethereum are taking off and growing in market capitalization.
Right? Is that what that shows? The dominance index.
This is the amount of dollars that are in the market. What it's showing is right here. Bitcoin was king up here, and people had their money in Bitcoin. Read a news article somewhere and said, "Oh, I want to put some money here." So this graph is almost a direct flip of this reverse.
What's the difference between the auto charts and the logarithmic charts?
I'll get to that next on my next slide. It's pretty neat. But what you're seeing is the market capitalization of the total is still going up. So if it was 700 billion market cap, it went to 750 billion market cap. So the market cap was still going up slightly, but the weighted average of who owned the market, who had the money, Bitcoin had a share of it, and now the altcoins started taking off, including Ripple. Ripple came from nowhere. I was introduced to Ripple. It was 11 cents, 15 cents, something like that. And I was like, it'll never get past $1 because it's got so many coins. Well, it went to $3.75 the next month. So it took a lot of market cap from Bitcoin. So a lot of people, including myself, who've had money in Bitcoin, flipped to Ripple.
Isn't that because of all the exchanges adapted altcoins onto them to make it easier to sell
Well,
Bitcoin right
for
there?
Coinbase, yes, but the altcoins have most always been on a lot. I mean, there's 30, 40 exchanges out there now, and they've always had a lot of. Yeah, there's too many. They always had a lot of coins on it, but yeah, you are correct. You are correct in a sense. But,
So
yes.
at the top of that, that's like when Bitcoin transactions were high. That's when
Yes.
they were slow.
You went to go do a transaction. It took
Took
you 8
forever.
hours to transfer a Bitcoin, which is kind of pointless of having the
It was
cryptocurrency.
expensive.
And it would cost you $26 to transfer $100. Well, people got mad and they went to Ripple, they went to Ethereum, they went to these other coins here. So it's just kind of like a 30,000-foot view I wanted to show you because it's very, very good to know. If you are looking to invest more money in this stuff here.
Mike,
Yes.
so how is the general acceptance, like now that people are starting to realize that Ripple is kind of not decentralized, it's more
Yes.
powered by bank, how is the general acceptance of Ripple, or where is it headed?
Yeah, Ripple's he was when it went up, he was the world's richest man. He surpassed Bill Gates and everybody by like $1 billion, by $10 million, something like that, in like a weekend. So they were just mad because he kept so much for himself. But I forget his name. But Ripple is a good point. It's a good point. They're going after the Swiss market and transferring money from banks. So I don't know a super whole bunch about Ripple because I didn't research it a whole lot, but it is grown. It's gone, and it's back down to $1 now, but it was up to almost $4. But
So it just depends on like your vision and like what you're in the crypto for. So for some people, they're against Ripple because it's against what they stand for and against what they believe cryptocurrencies for. Ripple's known to dump quite often after they have these conferences. They dump and they say it's a lot of insider trading or whatever you would call it, but it just depends on your personal preference or like why you're in cryptocurrency as a whole. Like me personally, I am against Ripple because like I'm not in cryptocurrency to be governed, to be I want to control my own future in that. So it just depends on like how you look at things and.
good point. Yeah. Good point. What he's talking about is the whole purpose of the blockchain is to be decentralized. And Ripple, there's a company that actually owns it. So they technically, I don't know the answer to this, but what's to say they couldn't say, well, let's make Ripple 2 and make another coin and then start a whole new business, and then this one here just disappeared.
And they're withholding like
55 billion coins.
Yeah, there you go. 55.
They locked it down, 55 billion coins, which made the liquidity of the current market go up and made their current stuff more valuable. But down the road, that stuff's going to become available again somehow. That's my understanding.
Another point of Ripple is the coins aren't actually required for their technology to work. They're talking about implementing a replacement for SWIFT.
Yes.
So Bank of America can send money to ANZ of Australia like that.
Exactly.
They don't need to use the Ripple currency for that. They're just using the Ripple blockchain. So the Ripple currency is just their security token to raise money, and they're sitting on.
Exactly. So I don't understand it. So do your research on Ripple on means. So I'm not going to go too much further than that. But I just want to make sure that you guys saw the chart and understood the flip in the market cap on these altcoins. It's really interesting. On Bitcoin, as you guys know, that as we saw in the last chart, Bitcoin is real big up there. As our gentleman mentioned up here about the transaction fees, very, very high now, and the mining, the block of transactions being processed, which is good for the miners, is very large right now. So there's a bunch of different people trying to put their heads together and present proposals because they want to fix it. Well, Satoshi Nakamoto, which invented this system, is no longer around. He's not participating. The whole coin has been taken over by the community, and they're all presenting ideas to fix the problem.
By the miners.
By the miners, exactly. And they all vote on it, and this is where Bitcoin 2X came from, this is where Bitcoin Gold came from, this is where Bitcoin Cash came from, this is where Bitcoin Diamond came from, if you guys saw that last week. Those are all derivatives of Bitcoin. And what's cool about Bitcoin is anybody can do it. We can actually make a Bitcoin here. It's called Bitcoin Platinum. You can actually make Bitcoin. You just copy the chain. I got a copy it on my laptop. And then we name it something else. And then we give everybody on the chain, if you have 10 Bitcoins, you now have 10 of my coin. And we just do a little software programming there, and we make it happen, and make a website, and then we say, literally, Bitcoin 2X. I was excited about that. Actually held on Bitcoin till it split. I got my coin or something like that. So I had my 0.00 diamond or separate 2X coins. And I went to the website, and there's 3 guys on the website. The developer, a programmer, and some other guy. And I'm like, 3 guys made this whole split. And so anyway, yes.
Mike, just one quick point on that, because I think it's important. I don't know about everybody else's investment strategies in here, but me personally, when I'm looking at and evaluating, I'm not really a short-term trader. I'm more of a position trader, and I'm looking for something more long-term or whatever.
Absolutely.
But and I'm not saying I wouldn't take a 200 or 300% profit and expect me ahead, and I thought it was at the top of the Bollinger Band or something. Yeah, but long-term, I've got my picks, my portfolio, and on that, when I take a position in a company, to your point, I don't want to just look at it. Is it just a coin or is it just another thing? I'm looking at who's behind this. I'm looking at
you want to go to the website
person. Yeah.
and look at the website, see who the directors are, see who the people are. Go to their Facebook, go to their Twitter. I've done that. Some of these coins and they haven't tweeted since May of 2016. Guess what? Don't invest in it.
It ain't going nowhere.
But you're very right there. You want to do the research. So as these new Bitcoins come out, there's another one coming out January 20th, which is Bitcoin Interest, which is going to be the first Bitcoin that actually bears interest on there. And if you own Bitcoin, you automatically get a Bitcoin interest coin on it.
1-to-1?
I haven't seen the release yet,
yet,
but it's coming out. I think it might have been the 19th, but it's somewhere in mid-January. So So look for that to come and add to that. What happens on each one of these, if you look at it, they all have 21 million coins. They're all copied off Satoshi Nakamoto, except Bitcoin Diamond, they got 210 million coins. They use different algorithms. This one is using SHA-256. They're using upgraded algorithms to make it faster. They're using larger block size, which the block size is the amount of information you can put in the chain, and allows you to put more information in there. And most of them are on the same time frame. Just difficulty adjustments for the mining, which we'll get into that here in a minute if we have time. But that's just keep an eye out, do your research. There's a lot of stuff coming down the road. Hard fork, those all came from hard forks. Hard fork is when they copy the blockchain and they make another one. So those.
You can see before and after hard forks, you can also see spikes and spikes.
Yes,
and spikes
yes.
down.
People want to get in before the hard fork because they want to get that free coin. When Bitcoin Cash came out, if you had 10 Bitcoins, you got 10 Bitcoin Cash. They came out $1,000 a piece.
Bitcoin Cash was worth.
So you got $10,000 just like that, just printed out of thin air. Imagine that.
There's one for Ethereum coming up. Did you say it was the 19th? There was one that was canceled. Whatever the next phase is. There was one that was canceled. Was that the one that was canceled?
No, Metropolis was canceled.
There was an Ethereum one that was canceled. I thought it was the 19th one. I'll have to double check.
Raining money.
Bitcoin Cash came out, and you kind of see what it did. I want to go through this here. This is a Bitcoin Cash charts against the price against Bitcoin. So if you look at the charts in there, this is market coin cap. I recommend going there and learning about it because it's you can see how that coin's doing against Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes up, sometimes it pulls the coin up too. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the coin can go up. You get more coins for your Bitcoin. So something to look at and think about. Tron charts. I know somebody mentioned Tron earlier. I love Tron. It came out. I got Tron 6 months ago by airdrop. I just showed up had 500 in my box, and I'm like, oh, so what's this? So I researched it, and it's a pretty cool coin. There's some cool guys that are part of it. They're part of
Justin Son.
Yeah, Justin Son, which is
he actually was written up in Forbes magazine 2 years over 2 different years, 2015, 2017, as the top 30 under 30,
Yes.
top 30 in the whole world CEOs under the age 30. He's a serial entrepreneur. I mean, he's actually has supposedly some ties to Alibaba.
Yeah.
And there's now talk with Alibaba possibly partnering up with him. So it's really an interesting play.
absolutely. He's
Tron is privacy too, right? Isn't it privacy coin too?
I don't think it's privacy. They're tackling the entertainment world.
I do know also, Mike, that from the research I've done, that they are pulling engineers and software people and stuff away from Alibaba. I don't know, and there's a rumor that maybe the owner of Alibaba is loaning them out to them because he plans on partnering.
That's Jack Mao's a very, very smart guy. He's the richest man in China right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if he jumps on this because this is a new technology, this blockchain. Now this is, they're carving out a sector in the entertainment section, which is really interesting to where you could actually, they can use the coin to buy movies, do different things in the entertainment industry, and invest in different stuff. So you can see it had a huge spike here. They did airdrops down through here. They did that because they had a little problem with they're in China with their ICO offering because they're illegal. So they gave the coins away, and then people have been buying into their vision by I guess getting the airdrops.
That was the loophole.
That was a loophole to get through the ICO. Now it's starting to take off here, as you can see. I was an investor actually here at the very beginning, and it was very, very good. And it went really far up, and I got greedy and didn't sell, and now I'm right back where I started. But so the thing is, we want to teach you here. Don't do what we do because we're greedy. Don't be greedy. I had somebody tell me one time, if you make 10-20% on something, be happy. Well, if you make 600%, be really happy and sell. I didn't do that. But
Suggestions on what's going on with the ruble, since I understand they're drawing Russia's on cybercrime?
They just voted on it. They voted on it yesterday, I think. I didn't know. Do you know what the results were? I don't know if they passed it. Russia voted on legalizing cryptocurrency.
Hopefully we'll see it come up.
Their
Oh,
national
my
currency.
Oh.
They-
I would guess it would push the price down.
Yeah.
The valuation of their
That's what I've heard.
Happen now.
Yeah, it's already pretty much.
Yeah, it's already cracked.
I don't know how much lower it can get than that, but they might use it as some kind of alternative, like the way most countries have the dollar, and then they have their national currency that they use simultaneously. I don't know how that's gonna work.
Something with Tron that I want to point out and that you guys might want to look into is the Elliott wave theory.
Yeah, I'm also, so Elliott waves are something that I found to be extremely helpful in trading. And it's easy to get lost in Elliott waves. I could go on for like a while about Elliott waves, but I'll put the link to basic descriptions of it in that PDF I'll send you guys.
Okay. Real quick, I do want to point out, this was a $40 million company here, and a few days later, a month later, it was a $16 billion company. So, when you start seeing stuff like that, really question, what's going on, and if it's real. I don't know if it was a pump and dump, but it was, it's definitely, a lot of people got excited. And there was huge volume there. There was hundreds of billions of dollars trading every day of volume of this stuff going back and forth. So it was huge volumes. It wasn't just little volume there. This is another poet. These people here are taking over their digital signature on books, and anything you write, you can own your signature on that. That's another neat coin that came out there. Did the same thing though.
Oh yeah, I was in that when it first hit Binance. It did pretty well.
Litecoin charts, and the reason I'm showing these charts here is because when you see a coin and it's rocketing up there, it's so easy to jump on board. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get rich. I want to buy. Put some money in there. You don't want to do that up here.
So also, like,
FOMO, yes. You're missing out.
Sorry to keep interrupting you, but that's why I passed this thing out too. So you can look at pretty much any of these charts, and they follow the same market psychology pattern. Because that's just basically, even on the shorter term time frames, people get excited and it goes through like the, whatever it is, hope, optimism, belief, euphoria, and then it'll crash down. So if you're aware of like what that market
if we were to start a company today and say, let's raise $1 million and let's get it going, we're going to actually have to go to work and make something happen and make a value of at least $100,000 a year to make that worthwhile for that investment. These guys are doing stuff, but to make a worthwhile investment of $16 billion in the next month, it's hard to do. Yes?
Can I just make one more point on that Tron? Because, like, okay, I am invested in Tron. I got like 35,000 of them right now. But I'll say this, okay, if you get smacked in the head with a 20 or 200 or 300% profit real quick, take your profit. I bought it at 8 cents. It shot up, right at that down payment. It shot up to almost, I missed the 28 or 30 cent, but it pulled back. I saw it pulling back. It's like 3 a.m. or whatever. We're going, and I sold it at 24 cents. So I feel pretty, but I wasn't amazing. I mean, just like, I'm just going to go ahead and take this profit,
Absolutely.
and then I pull back in at twice, once at 11 cents, and then it kept on. I thought 11 cents.
5 cents now.
But now it just kept on going. I bought back in another my average now is 9.5 cents. So I feel pretty good. I mean, even if it goes down to 1, I don't care because my
It's still a good
long-term objective on Tron is I feel it's going to be a 50 or 60 cent point very quickly.
I think all these coins in the beginning have
Litecoin,
radical takeoffs.
Ripple did the same thing. Ripple shot up here. It shot up to $3.20, and now it's right back down.
So no words, Mike. Don't fall in love with something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Take profits.
Take your profits.
Sizing in and sizing out is a really good thing too. Don't go all in, all out.
Yeah, what's the next coin? Well, that's the magic question. So what we do as a team here, and just we're in a few different online groups. That's a few more minutes. Is we research some of this stuff mainly by going to market coin cap and start sorting by the market cap. And there's a couple different ways you can do it.
Coin market cap.
Coin market cap, or I like World Coin Index.
BitScreen or something else.
So I found there's another site too, Coin Checkup, that I found that does something similar. Coin market cap. But what he's saying is you can. it's the same setup on CoinMarketCap too, so you can filter them
Is
by,
that the Gecko?
that's CoinCheckup.
And then there's also, you go to,
So I like
ICO
CoinCheckup.
alerts.
Yeah, ICO.
I didn't think CoinGecko was as good as.
CoinGecko's good. I like CoinCheckup too because they.
CoinGecko doesn't have a lot of the coins on it though.
All right, real quick, last couple
They do
slides
a
here, and we'll
rating
close
too,
out.
so yeah, can we get some mining team and the development team?
Ethereum, you guys all know about Ethereum on there. Ethereum is Vitalik Buterin. He's recreated the Bitcoin chain in what the hopefully is going to be Internet 2.0. They're actually making a distributed dApps, and that's one thing that I'm very interested in is actually developing some software on that platform, because with that you could do anything. When I started the meeting, I started off by you're seeing a lot of other applications come out that are outside the coin world. You're going to be seeing a lot of stuff starting on this. They're just now getting started on it, so there's still another year in the development of it. But once they get it finished up, you're going to see a lot of applications of stuff that you'll see pretty much like, literally like the Internet 3.0. Excuse me, the 2.0 is already out there.
I read he was a consultant also to the Russians when they were trying to put together their coins.
There you go. Yeah, he's a 19-year-old billionaire that he's a very smart guy. They're making his whole aspect of what he created was to create the blockchain, which allows you to put bits and pieces of programs on it. So you can actually have a program on there. And so instead of downloading your app from Apple.com or Windows.com or whatever, you go to the Ethereum blockchain, you can run all kinds of programs on it.
Ethereum blockchain smart contracts are like, they're the future.
Yeah, they literally they are the future, I believe. So that's why I'm a strong holder in believer in Ethereum. It's done very well over the last couple of years. It's up to over it's down $400 today, but it's up $400 from a month ago still. So it's kind of like
We remember all started this lecture.
that's the big thing. That's the big thing. Christmas it was $650. So in less than a month's time it's doubled. And now it drops 50%. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, get out! It's horrible." I'm like, "Wait a minute, I'm still up 50%."
Do you remember where you were 10 days ago?
I'm gonna have to study like how this fork affects Ethereum, but I started personally kind of doing some rebalancing and doing my rebalancing more towards Ethereum because I feel like it's gonna overtake the dominance.
Yeah, and the transaction, the fees.
Real quick, earlier we mentioned the capitalization. We're at $500 billion now after the crash. This little dot here is $424 billion. The dot-com bubble, you here, remember that?
Yep.
That was $9.6 trillion. So we still got a long way to go before it's going to total pop.
And also the paper currency fiat market is 200 trillion.
Yes, the whole paper thing is 200 trillion.
So we replaced paper currency with digital currency.
Yeah.
It's far from.
We're just a speck in the, we're not even a percent yet. We're just a speck in the.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to watch it grow over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Just on your Ethereum chart that you were showing a moment ago, look at, if you're looking long term, one consideration is like the environmental footprint of Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
There's 150 countries that use less electricity than Bitcoin. So when Ethereum switches from a proof of work state to proof of stake,
yes.
you could see movements by like China, might say, that's actually shutting down all the Bitcoin mines because you're generating too much.
Which moves me into mining. Does anyone here mine?
Yeah.
Ethereum or Bitcoin? I've got a Bitcoin S9 miner. I just set up in my house. I wasn't going to bring here tonight, but it literally is heating my entire house. My house sounds like an airport. It's crazy. It's loud. That's just one miner.
No heat.
Yes.
What about, okay, so that's a good point on KWH versus mining. And okay, so there's other technology out there now coming up besides Ethereum blockchain, like Tangle and also Hashgraph, which is algorithmic, supposedly incredible technology that
There's a few coins based on Hashgraph that are really impressive, like eCred, and there's a few that are going to base their whole business model.
it's more sustainable. It's going to use a lot less electricity. It's a lot faster. It deals with the issue of storage on the web.
Those little things change on the website,
Right.
and because today they changed, I don't know what it's going to be because the market changed. So everything's relevant to the market on there.
The chip manufacturer, NVIDIA, they're up 130% in sales for the year.
Yes.
You just buy their stock.
You can't get their chips. You can't get their GPUs.
Yeah.
So they come on Amazon or Newegg or whatever, and if they're on there for an hour, I had a friend or customer come to my store. He bought 5 of them
because he was just on the computer and happened to saw it come up, bought them instantly on his credit card, put them on eBay, flipped them before he even received his shipment, sold them for like $400 profit each.
They go in like
That's
5
another
minutes.
thing,
When
like-
their stock hits, they're gone.
Wow.
Like,
If you're into stock trading too, that's another thing. There's like derivative stocks of
Oh, yeah.
cryptocurrencies, like what you mentioned, that are probably.
So if you find any, I'll pay you $100 over cost.
What about cloud mining, Dan, if you just
And then flip it myself.
pull with all that?
Say again?
What about cloud mining if you didn't want to pull
That's
with all that?
that's a great idea, cloud mining. That's what I want to start eventually, is my own
Or
cloud
pool
mining farm.
whatever you want to call it.
Because cloud mining is, for those who don't know what cloud mining is, it's people like me that they build a big farm and they use the software to where you could rent the server for the next 2 years. What the advantages are? Well, it provides that person like me capital to buy more servers, and then it also gives a steady income for that machine. But the downside is for the miner is, and the upside for the person purchasing is, well, if that machine produces 10 Ethereum coins over the next 12 months, well, person gets appreciation. Well, if Ethereum goes from $1,000 to $10,000, that's a pretty good investment for them. Not so good for the miner, but the miner actually got the capital up front to buy more machines. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. It's a great platform to do. The only thing you got to be careful with is when you don't, and this with any investment, is your money is in somebody else's hands. Be careful. Make sure you find a good quality company. There's companies I use NiceHash. They got hacked. I lost 1/10 of a Bitcoin. It was in my wallet. The way they mine, because I was doing mine with them. The way they mine, they take the coins produced, they put it in the holding tank, and then once it gets to a certain level, they shoot it to your wallet. Well, they lost $68 million at 1 o'clock in the morning because they left a door unlocked or something. I forget what it was, but they walked in and wiped out $68 million from everybody's account. This happened a month and a half ago. So you have to be careful who you're with. They were a big company. $68 million worth of payouts just in that little window of waiting until the payouts go out the window. So you got to be careful whoever you're using. There's risk there associated. So if you have your own mining pool, as long as you use offline wallets, it minimizes the risk. Any other questions?
Hey, you mentioned about the hardware buying, and there's a lot of pre-sales coming up that have minimum order quantities on these miners.
Yes.
Where you get them pretty much at a great price if you can fulfill the minimum order. So somebody said you were mentioning you were going to organize a group buy of some way.
Yes.
If I was interested,
yes. Well, come talk to me after the meeting. We'll set up a group buy for
very easily.
Want to do it?
There's one miner going for $7,000 it costs, $15,000 on eBay.
Oh, really?
At least.
Yeah, you could turn a business into just setting miners up and stuff like that.
But, it's up to you.
If you have time for that, I've got 4 jobs now, so I don't have time to flip machines. But it's a lot of fun to do. But good point.
You consider creating your own coin to put that together?
I'm already doing that.
Okay.
I love it. Now, if anyone wants to help me with that, I'm taking volunteers because it's fun. The coin's not super complicated to make, as long as you understand some of the coding and stuff, which I have a little bit of coding background. But we are evaluating coins right now. We're looking at a couple different coins to build as a group. And then also I'm building one right now as a test for I got an ice cream store here in Coconut Point, and I'm trying to build a coin for that as like a coupon coin just to see if I can make it work as a coupon, and just mainly so I can figure the structure out and hopefully find somebody to buy a coupon from me. But if I get it to work, I get it to work. If not, I learn a lot about the blockchain in the process.
Just see a whale come and redeem 10,000 coins for ice cream.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can buy your own ice cream cone. It might be worth $1 million.
You buy the company from you, don't you?
It's for something. Any other questions?
So, it's not related to the mining part, but one of the things that we discussed earlier was Ken mentioning go up to 200, 300%, sell it, be happy, or Tyler had mentioned the fundamental aspect as well as the technical aspect of the research. How does all those things apply to the big guys, especially Ethereum and Bitcoin? I mean, why would I have to do the fundamental research on Ethereum, which was
how does the technical analysis apply to the big guys?
Would I just sell Ethereum at what 200% gains and then?
That's the magic thing. I love the trading aspect of it. It's really hard to gauge it. Now you can get the fundamentals of it. I mean, I'll tell you right now, when a spike goes up like this, you're making 600%. There's going to be people taking profit because you got to think on the other side of the transaction. Just like you and me and you sitting here. If you're sitting there, you put $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 in there, and you get a 600% return. There's probably your conscience or your significant other saying, "Yes, let's get out, let's sell." They're probably not going to be going, "Oh gosh, we're going to become multimillionaires off this one trade." they're going to want to take, and you got to look at it across the entire world population. There's people that got to have that money. We want that money. And it might just be, if it's $100 for you, it might just be play money. You might plan on losing it. You might think it's going to be $1 million. But there's a lot of people out there that do invest real money and want real returns. And in the real world, if you get a 6% return in a year or a 10% return on something, you usually take profit. So if you get those industrial investors coming in here, like those hedge fund managers, which a lot of them, those guys move the markets, the wells, they know if they get a 600% return, they're not going to let it ride. They're going to take some profit. They're going to take as much profit.
Also,
as they
Mike,
can.
on that, one good way to gauge it is like if you're looking at the chart and and it's going like this, okay, but then all of a sudden it spikes up. So there's a 50-day, there's the 50-day, the 7-day, and the longer term moving averages. If it spikes way past that 50-day moving average, I'm taking my profits because there's a rubber band that's going to pull that sucker back down.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you watch the volume on there, and you'll see, especially when other markets are closed, the markets that are, if a coin's real popular in South Korea or in Japan or something like that, when that market's closed, it might have light volume, and if everybody in this room buys 1,000 shares of something, and there's only 10,000 shares to sell, well, it might jump up, quite a bit. And then when those other people wake up, they go, wait a minute, I'm going to sell it, and that market might drop down twice as much. So, it's all relative. This is a small, different world. This is not your everyday stock market.
So I'll put my hand up and say I was with you with Tron, like had the euphoric when it hit 2,000 Satoshi. I think you've got to take that intersection of going vertical and the euphoric feeling of, ooh, 6 times return.
Yes.
And say that's when we should sell it, not hold it until it drops to
500. We were in a chat group, and one of the guys, and it's really good, said this is time to sell in the chat room. The now's the time to take profit. So I took a little bit of profit off there, but I let the majority of it ride. And sure enough, it went from 28,000 Satoshis down to 500.
So, if you guys have Facebook too, we also have we have the Bitcoiners of Southwest Florida umbrella group, and then we have another group under it, which is mostly for people that come here.
Did everybody get added to that?
It's I add everybody personally.
Okay.
So it's cryptocurrency traders room, and then there's like a black and orange, whatever the cover photo to it.
Crypto traders.
Cryptocurrency traders room, and then in parentheses it says closed group.
Is that the group you were saying in the other day, you told your friends to get out of Tron recently?
Yeah, so
yeah. We joined the day after.
We all share we all share like trading signals and setups and stuff in there.
And then there was a pump in there yesterday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was you. I put that on the PDF that I sent everybody. That was an awesome article.
But yeah, I saw you saying, I told my friends to get out of Tron. I was like, I didn't see it.
Any other questions here? I know we're keeping a little over time here, but any other final questions?
I just want to say one thing. So can you comment on it is a question or a statement. So with the cloud mining, I was told to be careful and watch the price of the hash rate.
Yes.
Is that what it is? And you want to get in when the hash rate's at a lower price, not like recently it's been at a really high price?
Yes.
I know you're a miner, so you don't want
it does fluctuate. The hash rate on there. Obviously, you want a cheaper price. The cheaper you can get in, the better return you get in. You can go to you can Google mining calculator. Calculators, there's half a dozen of them out there, and they'll come up on Google, and you just type in here. I'll pull one up here. Type in real quick. Mining calculator. You pull up one of these calculators here, and you can just type in at the top here. So if we're mining Bitcoin, let's go to Ethereum. That's what I mine there. So let me get back down here.
I forgot to bring that up too, the tab next to that, converter for Satoshi, that's what I use for my trades. So you can input a certain amount of USD and it'll automatically tell you how much in Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever that equals out to.
So if you get the new whatever they call it, 1080 Ti's, they're roughly 180,000 if you tweak them right. On there, this is just a real basic calculator based off the current prices on there. It'll tell you $16.98 per day, down to profit per year $6,196 per year. Now those numbers fluctuate, and I'll tell you right now they fluctuate a lot based off a lot of different factors on there. The mining difficulties on there, and your power consumption. If you have your power, we got the power cost here at Florida, 0.12 cents per kilowatt. So
Is that
if
what
you,
it is around here?
that's approximately what it is around here. If you find another place, there's places. There's a place up in Washington that's at a dam that they're begging for miners to come to. I'd love to go open a place up there right now.
Where's it at?
They're selling it for, I think, Washington.
I was going to ask you personally, but now that you mention it, just made me think of it. Babcock Ranch.
Yes,
Doing,
I've already thought
does
that.
that does that supply enough power, the solar, for you to be?
That's one of the aspects of the.
That's just feeding into FPL though, as part of the grid.
Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, if solar power in general.
Absolutely.
would
If you
be
can get
able-
solar power,
Let me check that out because my company built that. So.
Oh wow, we need to talk.
How?
We need to talk because that's a definitely a good point. Because down here, I want to eventually start a mining farm down here in Florida. I actually talked to somebody today about it. The solar aspect is the power play we have down
Check
here.
into Envy on ICO. It was just an ICO.
They
that
raised
was on.
$96 million over the last 30
Solar,
days
right?
on not solar. They're actually doing it. They're putting mining equipment in containers and shipping them all around the world to
Is that Envion?
Envion, yes.
Yeah.
But
All around the
that's-
world, they're putting it at the cheapest place they can find power possible, and then link it via satellite to the internet. to
There's
mine.
certain countries that subsidize energy, like that's why so many miners.
It's an absolute
And
beautiful
their-
investment.
and their cooling system is 40 times better than anything else out there.
Yes.
It requires 40 times less cooling to cool those.
They raised
processors
$96 million, which I would wonder how in the world they're going to find enough equipment to fill that, and make those things going. They're guaranteeing 61% return on investment annually, which is
Yeah.
great. They put that in writing, which is scary as all get out. One problem that bothers me is I know this mining equipment on eBay goes like for wildfire. So if you have a container sitting in the middle of a field, in the middle of nowhere with cheap electricity,
That's a bicycle for a video because it's at 96
Yeah,
million
if
bucks
you're not using your
buy
doomsday
in the
box.
market.
that's scary as hell looking up on eBay.
It's gonna. They're probably gonna be getting them They're probably gonna be getting them pre-ordered, I would assume, because
Oh,
it's
sure,
around
yeah.
that time where the new cards are gonna be coming. Are they card or ASIC?
They're both.
Oh,
Yeah, so-
okay, I didn't know that. I got you.
But,
I
yeah.
need you to hook up with a guy, they already do windmills, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
looking for a place somewhere in the world.
I talked to you
to
about that
set
last
up.
time, didn't I? Yes,
He's got the windmills, he wants to set up a mining.
We'll have to get together a conglomerate to put together a. We can actually do the ICO and obviously raise $100 million in 30 days. So there's a market for it.
Yeah.